Hey, welcome back to Let's Play Dunny Legacy, and we're almost finished with the game. This is the last journal to read, Agnes's last journal. Journal entry 1265. I stood over the book, understanding why Nora didn't want me to bring anyone into Americ. That would not only endanger our lives, but our friends. She was risking all that she could afford. Us. I could already tell by looking at the image of the linking book that whatever tinkering Castor had done with Americ was now taking its full effect. The island not only seemed to be more than an unpleasant place to look at. I could see the integrity of the island's core had changed for the worse. I wondered if they had decided against linking into such chaos. Nevertheless, I placed my palm on the image and linked out of the storeroom. My eyes watered from the acrid fumes, and I could feel the heat of the land almost burning the bottom of my feet. The temperature outside was intense, despite the fact that it was night. Americ was highly unstable. Ahead of me I could see a fire. There was my love, with Castor's arm around her. "Hello, Agnes!" Castor roared. His voice had the tone of an eager champion. "Hello, Castor." Taking unwavering faith in my wife, I stepped forward, knowing his intent was to let me die here. As I drew closer, I could see that he had a weapon, some type of staff. I hadn't planned on your age being in such a bad state. I glanced at Nora. She held a linking book. She opened the book and spoke. "I wish there was a better way to do this, Agnes." She gave Castor a sad look. He made no notice. Castor's weapon opened at the tip. I also wished the same. Nora and I have been talking for the past several days. We understand each other. You took advantage of her mind when she was most eager to break free from her little world. She deserves better than you. I could see Nora bite her lip. I shook my head. I don't understand. You're too young to understand. You're just another spoiled guildsman. You do not truly see how beautiful a wife you have. Had, rather. The ground shifted, nearly throwing all of us to our feet. I could tell Nora became heavily agitated. Castor leveled his weapon. "Nora, this is where we depart." He nodded to me. "Goodbye, Agnes. Your book closes here." Castor put out his hand for Nora. He looked at her quizzically as she took a step away from him and towards me. "No, Cass. Yours does." His look of confusion didn't last long. The island split itself apart. The crack began right before Castor's feet. He was tossed the opposite way that we were. A quarter of the island snapped in half to my right. A red steaming ooze began to seep from the edges of the torn earth. Americ was breathing its last breath. I heard a strange explosion from Castor's staff as yellow light flew into the sky. "Nora! Don't let him touch the book!" The quakes of the island had thrown all of us far apart. Nora and I ran towards each other. Suddenly a rift opened between us. Nora fell forward towards the heat of the volcano. Making a small jump over the rift, Nora and I embraced for the first time in what seemed to be a lifetime. "The book?" She shook her head. "It fell." "I didn't bring another," I whispered. "I know." We embraced together again, in what would be our last. "Agnes!" Castor had his weapon aimed at me from across the land split. "Get your hands off my wife!" Castor slipped the linking book out of his cloak. "Nora, please assure me that you are clinging to him out of fright?" "No, Cass." Nora stepped near the edge of the wide crevice that separated him from us. "You know what's happening." I could see that our small piece of the island was sinking slowly into the molten earth. Castor understood our position. "Then you will die together." He waved the linking book he held. "I never should have opened your book vault, or linked to that age with that sphere. But for once my curiosity has helped me. I found this in your storeroom, Agnes. I don't know where it goes, but it'll remove me from this cursed place. I'm sure I'll find a wife that won't try to kill me there." I could see that Castor's land strip was also beginning to melt slowly downwards. Several fountains of lava began to burst around us. Nora shook her head. "Cass, please give us the book." Castor laughed. "What? You betrayed me and you're making the judgment of who lives and dies?" She stepped back from the crevice as lava began to spray near the edge. "You've been alone for too long. You're dangerous. I'm sorry that I don't love you, but if you do love me, I want to live." I could barely see Castor's face. The lava was flying too high above the crevice between us. but I could tell he was in pain. The true demons he was fighting had nothing to do with us. Through the light of the fiery earth, I could see Castor still had a side of him that wanted to feel truly complete. The linking book landed at my feet. Thank you, Cass. Norva turned back to me to pick up the book, her face streaming with tears. We had little time to think. Our island was almost melted down to nothing. Castor's was almost down to but a red sea. Norva linked first. I looked up from the linking image. I could see his head looking skyward through the fountains. Then I could see he had the staff pointing at me. What is it that you really want? I had to shout over the roaring of the island to be heard. Castor closed his weapon. Keep her happy. I nodded in agreement and linked away, abandoning him to a fate that he had traded for us. Later that night, Nora would tell me about Castor, his hard childhood, isolated teens, and those lonely years he had spent on his ice age. My final images of him would be his face hidden behind the fire fountains, looking into the sky, as if there could be an answer he was looking for hidden within those stars. I would later shed tears for the man. Journal entry 1266. We have linked away from imminent death, only to become trapped. I didn't give it much thought when we first linked here to Elenith, but there is no way out of this age. We do have a linking book, but it's not within our grasp. I took a step too far into security this time around, always feeling that it wasn't enough to keep strangers out of my ages. Recalling my father's code to the library, I wonder if this is a syndrome that the Dunnies suffer from. The only linking book is locked within a large Nara capsule. The only way to gain access is with the key, of which there is only one. It still sits in the storeroom on Galen. Norva and I have talked about this, and it seems that we may be stuck here eternally. I didn't have time to give the new code to the storeroom to Norva's parents or her brother. Our only chance is that someone finds my journals and is able to decipher the code to the storeroom. This is so unlikely. It's not like someone typically romps through ages reading other people's journals for fun. Norva and I are content for now. After what has happened, we have realized that loves cannot ever laugh or embrace enough in the short times we are given for each other. Although we do hope that perhaps one day a friend will discover us, or we will stay trapped here indefinitely, away from our loved ones. And so that's it for Agnes's final journal. There's just one thing left to do in the next video.